So I recently picked up 5 DVD releases of live-action fighting game adaptations. And today we are going to go through them one by one and rank them based on not the quality of the movies themselves. If we did that, the 1995 Mortal Kombat would win hands down, but instead we're going to rank them on the quality of their special features. Anything included that is not the base movie will contribute to their ranking. First up is the 1995 DVD release of Mortal Kombat. Now, this DVD is so old that it is not far past the dawn of DVDs in general. As a result, the offerings it has are pretty scarce. The direct quote from the back of the box, "It's more than just a movie." The contents of this CD-sized disc include both widescreen and regular full-frame versions of the film, multiple languages and subtitles, high-quality Dolby Digital multi-channel surround sound, background information on the combatants, and more. Then a little lower on the box, it even has interactive menus in all caps with an exclamation point. Because apparently, at the time, it must have been a big deal. Which I guess if you compare it to VHSs, which were still in popularity at the time, any menu is better than no menu. First stop on this Mortal Kombat medallion wheel is gonna be the theatrical trailer. Let's see how that is. Alright, so everything in this trailer after the theme song kicks in is phenomenal. Before that, it's a little weird. The sound design is all over the place. All of the punches almost sound slapstick. And what is with this weird shot of Shang Tsung doing a C with his hand as the camera zooms into him? Next up, let's check out the combatant bios. Liu Kang, occupation fisherman. Now that's interesting. I sure did not expect that. They never showed anything of what he actually did while he was in America. Character background. Once a member of the super-secret White Lotus Society, Liu Kang left the organization in order to represent all Shaolin temples at the tournament. Okay, I don't think that's right. That sounds like whoever wrote this was confused. He left both of those to go to America. He didn't leave one for the other. The way this is phrased, you would think the White Lotus Society is a super-secret fisherman organization he was working for in America. Johnny Cage. Despite his seeming shallowness, he is a formidable foe with limber limbs. I get that they're talking about him doing the splits, but that is still a weird sentence to be in there. Goro. Age 2000, height 8'2", known relatives King Gorbak, Queen Mai, and Goro also has 7 wives. That I didn't know. That's interesting. It sure does make me wonder what they look like. Do they resemble any variation of Shiva? Or do they look completely different? I guess we'll never know. Birthplace Kuatan, 4th astral plane of Shokan. The 4th astral plane? If that is said anywhere else in any form of Mortal Kombat media, I sure do not remember it. What does that even mean? Was he conceived and birthed in a similar place to that place that Chris Farley is floating around in Beverly Hills Ninja? Prince of Kutan, ruler supreme of Shoran's armies. You know, I'm starting to think that all of these were written in a half an hour and none of them were actually proofread or lore checked for accuracy. Sonya Blade. Known relatives Daniel Blade, twin brother deceased. I didn't know that in any variation of Sonya Blade's character that she had a twin brother. They could have wrote that guy in to Liu Kang's new timeline. It would have been a perfect opportunity to include something like that, where Liu Kang saves this guy from whatever did him in. Her unit followed Kano to an uncharted island, but were ambushed by Shang Tsung's personal army. Tsung forced Sonya into the tournament by holding comrades hostage. Now, not only does her own life depend on her performance, but those of her companions as well. Well, that certainly isn't in the movie. It reminds me of the Malibu comics, but in that version, it was just her partner, the one that Kano had already killed by the start of this movie. In the comics, she just sees it happen in front of her on the island. There's certainly not a group of people she has to worry about. Maybe this was in an early draft of the script and they threw it out at some point. But it does kind of sound like what happened to Jax in the 2011 Mortal Kombat as well. Sub-Zero. Known relatives, none. This certainly is curious. They must have wrote this before his brother was an established character. The actual name and origin of this warrior is unknown. However, based on his uniform, it is believed he belongs to the Lin Kuei. Wow, they're not even sure. They're like, maybe, I don't know. Scorpion is a reincarnated specter and has no legal status. It is believed that he is a fallen ninja granted the opportunity to avenge his death at the hands of the Lin Kuei. He has been given a new body and a uniform which mocks the Lin Kuei's with its cowardly yellow color. That's crazy. I've never seen that interpretation of Scorpion before. The idea that maybe he wasn't even a ninja and he just wears this outfit to mock the Lin Kuei is a wild concept. One that obviously has been completely abandoned. Wow, they sure did not try for this one. Age, eternal. Height, 7 foot, 250 pounds. 7 foot? Did they originally have Shaq in mind to play Raiden? Legal status, Mystic, does not apply. Known relatives, none. Occupation, warrior. Wow, they really didn't try on this one. You know what? Since that's it for the special features, why don't we check out that French dub? L'âme de ton frère m'appartient. Léo! You know, that is a strong opening that I did not expect. I did not expect that kind of line delivery from those two. Christopher Lambert actually does his own French dubbing for Raiden, which is a nice touch. I'm not gonna watch the entire thing in French, but there are a couple of lines that I am curious about how the French dub handles them.
Le tournoi commence! Ta vie s'arrête là. Alors ma belle, je t'ai beaucoup manqué.
You know, I was actually really hoping that we got to hear what a person with an Australian accent speaking French sounded like. Oh well, too bad. One thing that I'm disappointed about is that seemingly all of Scorpion's lines have been removed. There's no get over here, there's no welcome, there's no get down here. Instead, Scorpion just silently attacks Johnny Cage and occasionally makes some grunting noises. But alright, that is it for this DVD. The theatrical release of this movie was in 1997, with the DVD release not long after, a few months later in early 1998. Let's see what the back of the box has to say. It's more than just a movie. The contents of this disc include both widescreen and full-frame versions of the film, 3D computer models, character sketches, set designs, special jump to a fight feature, original theatrical trailer, animated menus, and more. As if animated menus were something we were supposed to be impressed with. Let's start with the trailer. Well, at least they cut out the opening awkward bit that the last Mortal Kombat trailer did. This one just jumps right into the action. I didn't know, though, that they used a remixed version of the Mortal Kombat theme for this. That was not the original song. Next up, let's see the set designs. This is a rather basic feature, but it is nice. It's the kind of thing you would expect from the later Mortal Kombat games. The kind of thing you would find unlockable in the crypt. Let's see what models is. Oh, I certainly did not expect that. It is cool that we get to see a fully sculpted model like this. I am gonna have to censor it a little bit, though. They've included one for Dragon Liu Kang as well, which also looks pretty cool, and Motaro, who looks like he's sleepwalking. As for the 3D models, all that we get here is a progression on specifically Motaro. Nobody else gets anything here. It says models plural, but it just means different states of the Motaro 3D model. As for the combatant biographies, they don't seem nearly as interesting as the previous ones did. They seem accurate and bland at that. Just recapping what the characters did in the last movie and what they are going to do in this one. They do include quotes from the actors about their characters, but they don't say anything that you can't figure out by just watching the film. They basically just do a brief summary of their own character in their own words. Instead of getting a quote from the actor, we actually get a quote from the executive producer on Motaro's page. To create the creature, we utilized some of the most sophisticated digital techniques ever invented and motion capture techniques that have never before been used for a feature film. The result, as you will see in his fight scenes, is a digital creature that fights and moves with real human and animal movements. While I'm sure it was impressive for the time, it sure did not help the film at the box office. Scorpion. The undead Scorpion rules a lava-filled netherrealm, and from there can teleport to Earth or Outworld. He has loyalty to no one, but viciously attacks the human defenders of Earth when they inadvertently pass through his netherrealm to avoid Shao Kahn's forces. What? This, I feel like, was never properly conveyed in the film. Even though they do that whole hamster ball spinning around the Earth's core thing, I never got the impression that where they ended up was the actual Netherrealm. That's crazy. That recontextualizes that whole scene. For a lore perspective, that means that Hell is a physical place that all of them can travel to at any time. You just need to get in the hamster ball that rolls all the way to the planet core, and bam, you're in Hell. Nightwolf. A hip and flip young Native American, Nightwolf is the historian of his tribe and the preserver of the magics. With a soul which has been handed down through generations, and the keeper of his people's powerful battle secret. He is both a shaman and a fierce warrior, with the ability to merge into his animal alter ego as a wolf. As spiritual protector of his native people, Nightwolf uses ancient magic to protect the Earth from Shao Kahn's invading hordes. That is by far the craziest bio. That one is even crazier than the 4th Astral Plane Goro one. I don't know how they could top that. Alright, after that, the only thing we still have to check out is the character sketches. The merchandise option below it just leads to a website link, so we're not gonna worry about that. Wow. I don't know what I was expecting for this, but I think I was expecting a little more than what they put here. I think the fact that it seems like they cut out the sketches digitally to make it look like they're propped up in a 3D manner has somehow made them worse. You know, I was gonna say something about how it's nice to see art actually drawn by a human, now that we're in the age of AI generation, but this picture of Shiva makes me unsure about that. I kinda wish I had not seen this Shiva at all. And that is it for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Next on the list is the Tekken movie. This DVD came out in 2011. I remember the first time I saw it, as I walked into a Blockbuster video, and it was over in the section with the Hector Echevarria MMA movies. I remembered a distinct feeling of how far fighting game movies had fallen, going from the movie I beloved, Mortal Kombat 1995, then to Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, down to this, a Tekken movie that wasn't even deemed worthy to have in the theaters. But all that aside, let's see what the DVD has on it. On the back of the case, the special features section simply reads, Stunt Stars, Tekken. I definitely find this odd, the fact that it doesn't feel it's necessary to even explain what that is. When the DVD loads up, we immediately are hit by a Best of 2010 UFC DVD. I also have distinct flashbacks of that. I did own that DVD. Not the best year in UFC history, but it wasn't bad either. Once we get into the DVD, we see that it's actually not just Stunt Stars, but also they have included the trailer as well. The trailer's not bad. They cram as much action into it as they possibly can, which it does a good job of showing off the best parts the movie has to offer. But what about Stunt Stars? Well, Stunt Stars actually is a 45-minute documentary that follows the stunt crew as they set up and perform various stunts over multiple days of the film's shooting. It's actually pretty interesting. You get to see step by step them going from storyboard to practicing the moves and then actually shooting them. It definitely gives a number of insights into the production of the film, like the fact that the man in charge of the stunt team wrote this fight scene between Jin and Yoshimitsu in only a half an hour, because apparently they prioritized all the other fights first, and this particular one they ran out of time to plan for. Not only that, but he also says that he played the video game a little bit but did not want to copy the moves from the character. Luckily, the guy that actually plays Yoshimitsu gave a much more encouraging statement about his time playing the game and trying to incorporate the moves into the fight scene. Throughout this thing, they also pronounce Jin's name wrong multiple times. They call him Kazuma. But on top of that, they go out of their way to say that Yoshimitsu is the most evil Tekken character? I guess they just went by the visual and guessed that his scary mask meant that he was evil? I'd say it's arguable that he's one of the most good guys, that he's much more heroic than most of the other characters. But not here. Apparently Yoshimitsu was the most evil character that was ever in Tekken. They focus for a while on this flip that Yoshimitsu is supposed to do over Jin's back, and even from the first time I saw him do it, I was like, but you are gonna mess up your leg doing that. And big surprise, he did. But they just wrap that leg up and have him do it again. The film then goes in to talk about how the man running the stunt team practically invented parkour. They basically say he wasn't the first to do it, but might as well have been. Which maybe that's true, I don't know. But then the most worrying part of the documentary, it goes into how he gets in arguments with the director of the film about what safety precautions they should do for stunts, because he doesn't want to do the safety precautions, because he thinks that his team does this stuff all the time because they go hang out and do parkour in the streets. So doing a stunt like this is no problem because they rehearse it, kind of thing. He even says that his crew has never had an injury, which I don't know what this guy counts as an injury. Does someone need to die? Do they need to be maimed? Do they need to never be able to work again? Where's the bar? Because not many stunts were covered in this documentary, but there's at least one injury on film in the documentary. So that's more than none ever, bud. But regardless, I do really like this documentary. It is nice to see some recognition given to stuntmen in this profession. It's just unfortunate that this documentary was buried on a direct-to-video DVD that not many people saw. But alright, that's it for Tekken. Up next is Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Legend of Chun-Li came out in 2009. This particular DVD is the unleashed and unrated version. Looking at the back of the case, these special features are actually spread across 2 DVDs. Disc 1 includes both the theatrical version and unrated cut of the film, unrated cut audio commentary by producers Patrick Aiello, Ashok Amritraj, and actors Neil McDonough and Chris Klein. Deleted scenes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 sneak peek, becoming a Street Fighter featurette, Chun-Li bringing the legend to life featurette, Fox Movie Channel presents Making a Scene, 3 galleries, game to film comparisons, storyboards, and production stills. And Disc 2 is Street Fighter Round 1 Fight full-length animated Origins comic movie. So loading up the DVD, the first thing we are hit with is a trailer for Dragon Ball Evolution, which is ironic because, like I said, Tekken had a direct-to-video release, but Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li and Dragon Ball Evolution both went to theaters, and I know this because I saw both in theaters. I dragged my friend group to go see both, convinced by the Mortal Kombat 1995 movie that surely one of these days, another film in this genre will be good. Boy, was I wrong. Oddly enough, what stands out from watching those movies in the theaters the most was waiting for the movies to start, and all of us congregated around a Jambo Safari arcade machine. That thing actually was a good time. But alright, back to this DVD. It immediately hits you with a second mandatory trailer, this time for 12 rounds, which I remember seeing this movie when it was new. It definitely blew my mind to see in retrospect that Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones was the villain in this. But alright, up first are the deleted scenes. A lot of these are pretty basic. It seems like maybe they were hinting at a romance between Charlie and Chun-Li, but then decided against it at some point in the filming. Of all the scenes, one in particular stands out to me, because I was taken aback by the dialogue Charlie actually said.
I've never seen a stripper who could move like that.
Yeah, it probably was a good call to edit out any direct comparisons of Chun-Li and being a stripper. The Marvel vs. Capcom 2 sneak peek actually took me by surprise. The entire thing is set to Stan Bush's The Touch, which, if you don't know, that is the theme song used for one of the best scenes in Transformers history.
No matter the cost.
Now, the trailer is just Wolverine and Ryu fighting, but it definitely wins some points just for having that song. The featurettes go into a lot of things about the development of the movie, like the choice to make the characters more grounded and realistic as opposed to the more extravagant character designs that are in the Street Fighter video games, which unfortunately they did not nail. It's not like the idea is bad in premise. Mortal Kombat Rebirth certainly showed that making a more grounded and gritty version of one of these fighting game franchises certainly can be done right, but Legend of Chun-Li never quite hit the mark. Like this girl, Charlie's partner throughout the movie. Did you know that she's supposed to be based on Sea Viper? Because I sure didn't until I watched these featurettes. That sure was not conveyed in the film at all. Maybe if they had actually turned this into a multi-movie franchise like they were hoping, maybe then, in the sequel, they would have started calling her Sea Viper. But alas, that didn't happen.
She also poses like this after she kicks some ass.
A lot of the behind-the-scenes footage seems to retread the same ground in terms of what they're talking about, but it's all unique footage between the featurettes, and they're all pretty interesting to watch. Also, from the way they talk, it sounds like they almost were trying to build towards Street Fighter 2. They consistently talk throughout these featurettes like nothing before Street Fighter 2 even exists. They certainly don't acknowledge Street Fighter Alpha at all. Not only do they never talk about the story of Alpha, but they also never talk about the costumes of Alpha, namely Chun-Li's. They act like her Street Fighter 2 costume is the only one that has ever existed, which is definitely not the case. All the storyboard stuff is certainly interesting to see. It is weird to see their side-by-side character comparisons and to look at what they thought was acceptable for M. Bison. McDonough's character is so different that it might as well be an entirely different character completely. They said multiple times in the featurettes they didn't think the military outfit would work, but that's not true. You could do a good-looking military outfit. Just look at Cody Rhodes. It can be done. They include a lot of still images besides the storyboards, though. They have a ton of shots from the development process separated into different categories. It actually seems like they wanted to fill this DVD until there was no space left. There's actually an additional trailer section for other movies that paid their way to be on the DVD. Most notable is The Marine 2. I guess Vince McMahon got out his checkbook twice to get on the Street Fighter DVD. Alright, time to check out the commentary track.
By the way, a long time ago, Robin did Mortal Kombat, of course.
Right. This is where we see Robin generating what's known as the Chi Ball. And more importantly, she needs to harness and generate the Chi Ball.
Alright, that's all I wanted to see. Disc 2 has a voice-acted motion comic that covers the first 6 issues of the Udon comic. The crazy thing about this is that if they spent the money that they spent on this Chun-Li movie, instead producing a real anime for this comic series, that would have been far more successful. Which I still hope somebody does someday. The entire modern comic line of Street Fighter is just waiting for somebody to throw money at it. But alright, moving on to the last DVD. This DVD is for the 1994 Street Fighter II movie, but this particular release was not until much later. This was the DVD release that came out around the time that Street Fighter IV came out, and as a result has multiple trailers for Street Fighter IV, which the first one is fantastic. The second is not really a trailer, it's just a teaser, barely anything to it. The Street Fighter anime trailer is specifically for The Ties That Bind, the anime that came bundled with Street Fighter IV. The making of Street Fighter is an interesting behind-the-scenes documentary that recounts the production of the film, which truthfully, I thought there was much more time between this movie and the Mortal Kombat movie. I did not realize they were only 1 year apart. I thought this was like at least 5 years older. It's crazy to me. A movie that feels this much older came out only 1 year prior. The Street Fighter II movie feels like it should have been, at the latest, 89. The outtakes aren't exactly funny bloopers or anything like that. It's more like a behind-the-scenes camera that happens to catch somebody trip, that kind of thing. Which makes it interesting just for the extra camera angle that lets you see these particular events of the movie. There are a couple of deleted scenes, like this fight between Cammy and Chun-Li. Storyboard sequences. There is a commentary track for the film, but it's only from the director. He's the only one there. You do get to hear some stuff like this throughout it, though.
Now here, this actor, Kenya Sawada, is a star in Japan, and Capcom was very eager to have him in the movie, but his English was very limited, which you may have noticed earlier. So this seemed to be a good way of dealing with his limited English, as well as the model city established earlier. So with Godzilla sound effects, somehow all our Japanese players are at home.
But alright, that's it. Compared to each other, how do these stack up? Once again, this is not ranking this based on which movie is the best. That would go like this if that was the tier list we were doing. Instead, what had the best value of content and best quality of content on the DVD releases? And for that, Mortal Kombat 1995 is going down to the bottom. Annihilation is not much better, but it's a little better than MK 1995. Tekken has next to nothing, but Stunt Stars is good. It makes up for the complete lack of content that otherwise should be there. 1994 Street Fighter has plenty of stuff on there, even a couple things I didn't bother mentioning. And Legend of Chun-Li is actually at the top of the tier list. You know, I sure don't like seeing Legend of Chun-Li at the top of any tier list, but I must admit it does have by far the most content crammed onto those discs. This does make me want to endeavor to find another fighting game DVD to displace it from the top spot. So maybe one of these days we will go back through and add 5 more fighting game DVDs to this list. But for now, that's where I'm calling it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.